Good morning, media houses and those joining us via the stream. It is a pleasure to welcome you to OPM's press briefing, where we're committed to giving you informative sessions each week that grants you access to do the jobs that you do so well. This week, Press Secretary Clint Watson will give an update on several stories that's been circulated in the media recently. We also have 4 dynamic speakers. We have Mr. Clay Sweeting, who will be speaking about local government and giving some announcements. We also have Minister Wayne Monroe and as well as Minister Mario Bolag. As you can see, we have a lot of persons in our gallery today. We have people from local government, as well as the Ministry of Agriculture, all to answer your questions as they arise. So I'm going to welcome the press secretary as he comes to introduce our first speaker, who will be giving you some information. I believe that would be Minister Wayne Monroe. So could you please welcome him as he comes?
Good morning, colleagues. My apologies, dealing with an urgent matter there. Welcome to our weekly press conference this morning. Quite a bit to get accomplished to you. We're going to try and make record and get you done within the hour as we normally promise to do for you, but quite a bit of exciting announcements to make to you today, and quite a number of people who are going to address you today. So my announcement will be kind of short because we're going to try and get those in with everybody else who's going to be speaking this morning. Happy holidays if I haven't said it to you already. We're grateful that all of you are actually here with us this morning. We're going to talk about a couple of other things that we have generally would not have on our agenda this morning, and a couple of announcements that we have as well. I'm going to begin with the Minister of Agriculture, Marine Resources and Family Island Affairs, the Honorable Clay Sweeting, who's going to say a few words on that big announcement that happened this week for Cotton Bay. As you know, that's his constituency that will benefit of Central and South Eleuthera. And then right after that, he'll talk about local government elections, which we're announcing today for the first time. So I'm going to welcome the Minister to come and briefly address you and take your questions with regards to that. Minister Sweeting.
Thank you, Clint. Good morning. Firstly, as a Member of Parliament for Central and South Eleuthera, I would like to offer my support for the necessary development of Cotton Bay in South Eleuthera. We are excited to welcome Marriott, inclusive of their premier luxury brand, to the constituency, who will manage and brand the project at Cotton Bay. For almost 40 years, South Eleuthera has experienced economic hardship, which has aided in the migration of talent to other islands and countries. This development will add to job opportunities in the South through direct employment as well as construction opportunities. The project will also provide an avenue for entrepreneurs, farmers, fishermen, and cultural individuals to contribute to the constituency through local growth and inclusiveness in the resort. This will improve the positive induced impact and indirect impact throughout our local communities and positively impact the lives of what matters most, the people. Now, on another matter, I also like to welcome the Director of Local Government, who is here with us today for the announcement. We are pleased to announce that local government elections will be held nationwide on Thursday, January 27th, 2022. Thousands in the Family Islands will have the opportunity to have a say in the trajectory of their communities by voting. Local government plays an instrumental role in the overall governance of our country. The elected persons are responsible for making wise decisions on everyday matters that will add to the improvement of the quality of life of their citizenry. They are to ensure that they utilize their resources, including manpower, efficiently and effectively, that they are accountable for all public finances allotted to them, and that they manage funds to the best of their abilities. Under my portfolio, we are looking to increase local government's ability to create transformative community projects that will enhance their respective communities. Over the years, many citizens have lost faith in local government. This administration wants to empower local government to lead our communities into a new day. In our blueprint for change, this administration has committed itself to promoting and implementing development policies and strategies to encourage inclusiveness and Family Island development. We will further decentralize decision-making and put power in the hands of communities through local government. The last elections were scheduled to be held in June 2020. However, due to the global pandemic, adjustments had to be made. Unfortunately, any perceived extension to the allowance of holding the local government elections after expiration of the orders were void. Legislative amendments were made through the tabling and passing of the COVID-19 Pandemic Special Provisions Bill 2021. Therefore, we are mandated to hold local government elections within 90 days. We are encouraging any individual who has the betterment of their community at heart to nominate. We need fearless individuals who have a deep commitment to see progression in their communities. We especially want to see a cadre of aspiring youth and women in next year's elections. Every effort will be made to ensure that the local government elections will run as smoothly as possible. My ministry has been working very closely with the Ministry of National Security, which has a responsibility for the holding of elections in the country. We have also been working along with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to ensure the proper protocols and procedures are adhered to. Every effort is being made to cause this election process to be as convenient and efficient as possible. I thank you, and I will be happy to take any questions at this time.
Jasper Ward, Nassau Guardian. The Fisheries Act was passed, I think it was last year, that prevents Bahamians from hiring foreigners to work on their boats. Is this something that you plan to revisit, given that it was such a controversial matter?
Well, currently we are adhering to the legislation. We are a government that follows rules and follows orders, so we are following the legislation at this time. But right now our main concern is food security and ensuring that we find ways to feed our country during the pandemic.
As we see tourism rebound to pre-pandemic levels, do you hope that this is something that's going to trickle to the Family Islands and allow for more economic activity on
Most definitely, and I think that COVID has played a role where persons are now looking for family islands where there's not as many crowds, and they're experimenting on islands such as Eleuthera, Exuma, Arbor Island. So we welcome that, and as you can see, this government is focused on increasing investment in the family islands and finding ways to develop them.
Any idea where you can perhaps see legislation speaking to cannabis marijuana?
We are working along with the Attorney General's office. We are reviewing the previous proposed legislation to see how we can adapt and make sure that ensure that it's inclusive of all Bahamians, not just a select few. So hopefully within the next year or so, we'll have something that we can bring forth.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. We want to move along quickly so that we can get all your questions in. I'm going to invite now, we want to talk about a new initiative that's happening in the country, and that is a great relaunch of Sports in Paradise. If you haven't seen it already, we're having great success with sports returning back to the Bahamas, international sports. There is a serious level of craving for it, and we're seeing great success, particularly in what we've seen already with the basketball games at Atlantis, at Bahamar, with golfing tournaments, and that is about to really kick up in higher gear. And so I'm going to invite the Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Myra Boleg, to talk about the relaunch of Sports in Paradise and introduce to us some partners from ES ESPN to talk a little bit about the upcoming Bahama Bowl and really the resurgence of what we expect to be a great sports tourism industry in the Bahamas. So Minister Boleg, thank you.
Good morning, everybody, again. Thanks, Clint. Once again, we knew that because of our proximity to the United States, most college and professional teams wants to come to the Bahamas and play their talents. The Bahamas government want to relaunch its Sports in Paradise. As you can see, we had Battle of Atlantis, we had the Bahamas shootout, we had the Gombe shootout in Bimini. And so with just basketball being played a few days ago, we are now about to have a football bowl, which has been played over the last several years. Since last year, we were canceled due to the pandemic. But this year will be the 7th year of the bowl game that will be played at the National Stadium. You will have Mississippi State and Toledo will be playing inside those football games. And here with me is one of the agents that brought the bowl game here, is Ms. Lee Miller and Mr. Richard, who has been friends of the Bahamas for many years. We intend to have a 52-week program of competitions that will be played here in the Bahamas that will ensure that our national stadium, the Kendall Isaac Gymnasium, the golf course, and all the facilities under the NSA will be occupied on a frequent basis, where we have foreign teams coming to this Bahamas and giving our youth the exposure that they need, and also giving us the opportunity, some economic opportunities that will come our way. So without further ado, I would invite Ms. Lee Miller, who will speak more about the bowl game. The bowl game is free, so we're inviting all Bahamians to come out. It'll be playing on December 17th at 12 noon. All protocols will be adhered to. We'll have the protocol officers and everyone in place to safeguard our Bahamians. The stadium is big enough so that persons could come out and enjoy the game. Ms. Lee Miller.
I'd like to start up by saying good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for having myself, Lee Miller Tooley. I'm the co-founder of the Bahamas Bowl, along with my partner, Mr. Richard Giannini with ESPN. The Bahamas has always been a very special place for me, both personally and professionally. It's where I fell in love, where I got married, and where I've had the opportunity to work with so many incredible people, forging lifelong relationships and partnerships. I want to thank the Prime Minister for his vision for this beautiful country and for believing in the impact of sports tourism. He understands the opportunities for Bahamians through the power and the exposure of sport. Through his pledge to continue to support the Bahamas Bowl, we will grow this every year while showcasing it live on ESPN, the true worldwide leader in sports. Thank you to the Ministry of Tourism and to Minister Chester Cooper for his support of the Bahamas Bowl. We look forward to many more years of his continued partnership along with his ministry. I want to thank you to the Honorable Minister Boleg, for we go way back about 12 years here in the Bahamas, for his support through his Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, as well as Mr. Greg Burrows, the chairman of the NSA. This will be the 7th annual Bahamas Bowl, airing live on ESPN at noon on December 17th. It's the longest running international bowl game and currently the only one played outside the United States. We will be launching bowl season in an unopposed window, meaning we will be the only game at that time being played on ESPN. So we forecast ratings and exposure to be unprecedented. Competing in the game will be Middle Tennessee State University, who is no stranger to the Bahamas. We had them compete back in 2015, along with Toledo, who was also here in 2018, so is also returning to the beautiful islands of the Bahamas, and had a great season, actually only lost to Notre Dame previously by 3 points during the season. So we're excited to get both of them back competing for the Prime Minister's trophy. Without sponsors, there would be no game. I want to thank the Atlantis for their unparalleled hospitality. This is the game genuinely all teams in the United States want to come to. I'd also again like to thank the Ministry of Tourism for their continued support each year. They're an absolute gem to work with. We want to thank the Tribune, KFC, Pirate Republic, and my favorite, John Watlings, the best Goombay smash in the Bahamas, I believe. To reiterate what Minister Boleg said, tickets are free this year. We understand it's been a tough year for the Bahamas, for the locals. We're excited to get you all out. We want the attendance to be great. We want to showcase your beautiful country, again, live on ESPN. So game will be next Friday, December 17th at noon. With no further ado, I'll introduce Mr. Giannini, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much, Lee, and welcome everybody, and I'll be real brief. One of the things that in the 7 years that we have been here doing this tremendous gaming, being part of such a wonderful country, is that we try to give back to the citizens of the Bahamas, and every year we give back to either helping youth in this community, having a youth clinic for the children of this area, and also we've helped over the years with the 2 basic hurricanes that you've had since we've been down here. One of the things that we're proud to do this year is that the bowl season in America is all put together through the CFP, the College Football Playoff System, and we are really honored to be the first game of that system, as Lee said, on Friday, December 17th. But we have partnered with the College Football Playoff Foundation, and they are providing a grant to the Ministry of Education of $10,000, which will go to 20 teachers in the Bahamas, not just in Nassau, but throughout the Bahamas. And all the teachers in this country were asked to provide an essay to the Ministry of Education as to how they would spend the $500 in their classroom. And then the ministry picked the 20 best, and we will be presenting them at halftime of the game and honor them. And we really appreciate the teachers so much, because in any country, with your youth, that's where it all starts. And so we're proud to do that, and proud to be a part of that system. And we hope that in the years to come that we can continue this grant. And the final thing, our trophy is named after your Honorable Prime Minister, and we're really pleased to have the trophy in his name. And at the end of the game, whoever wins, whether it is Middle Tennessee State University or Toledo, the championship trophy will be in his honor. And again, we just thank all the ministers and the ministries and that have over the years supported this game so well. And without you, we couldn't make it happen. And we use the theme in America that bowls are better in the Bahamas, and we truly believe that, and it's because of the citizens here that make it such a great and wonderful experience for us and for ESPN. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee and Richard, for talking and letting us know that indeed sports tourism is indeed back in the Bahamas, bigger and better before. Again, you heard that this year's bowl is absolutely free, so take your family out. There's lots of space at the National Stadium for social distancing, and then enjoy the bowl as it's coming, and it should be an exciting time. Thank you again, Minister Boleg, for talking about the relaunch of tourism, of sports tourism and sports in paradise. Before Minister Boleg was on, we heard from the Agriculture and Local Government Minister, Farmland and Affairs Minister, Clay Sweeting, talking a little bit about the elections. I want to go back to that a second because, of course, the elections responsibility fall under, of course, our parliamentary commissioner, who's here, as well as the Honorable Wayne Munro, who's responsible for elections. So I want to invite Mr. Munro to come and talk about how that's going to logistically happen and what Family Island residents should know as they prepare for upcoming elections. So come, Minister Munro, and address us on that.
Thank you, Clint. And I'm joined not only by the Parliamentary Commissioner Lovato Donkinson, who is acting, but also Carl Smith, the current PS in the ministry. The parliamentary commissioner actually runs elections because it would not be proper for a politician to run an election, which I am. I'd have a particular bias. And so the parliamentary commissioner runs the elections. But I'd just like to begin by highlighting preparations notified to me. I'm the Minister with Oversight and Responsibility for the Parliamentary Registration Department. And I've been provided with a calendar produced by the Parliamentary Commissioner, and I'll give you the key dates on it. Training actually started well ahead of the announcement and the passage of the bill, because the department would have known that elections would be held. And so that training began November 29th. And that was of persons recommended by the Department of Local Government to serve as returning officers. Now, the key dates with regard to the election: the closing of the register for the purposes of this election will be the 28th of December, 2021. The writs of election will then be issued on the 29th of December, 2021. The publication of the notices of election will then be on the 31st of December 2021, followed by nomination day, which is set for the 6th of January 2022. The nomination forms will be published the 8th of January 2022. The notices with regard symbols will be the 14th of January 2022. The final day for verification of the information on the register as required by law will be the 15th of January 2022. The register will be published the 17th of January 2022. The election will be, as you have heard, the 27th of January. The recount will be the 28th, and the writs will be returned on the 31st of January and the results published. Now, the Parliamentary Commissioner has taken steps to ensure that this runs smoothly. His department has written to public and private agencies that are to be polling places. The Parliamentary Registration Department has already engaged with its partner agencies, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Royal Bahamas Defence Force, and other agencies to begin to ensure that the elections run efficiently and smoothly. All of the COVID health protocols will be followed as we are still in the pandemic. And these are some of them, not all of them, but we're encouraging all election poll workers to be vaccinated, or at least to begin the process. All voters, poll workers, election agents will be required to wear face masks in the polling place, and the face mask will have to be worn properly. The Parliamentary Commissioner will distribute face shields to election staff and poll workers for additional protection. As usual, campaigners will not be allowed within 100 yards of the polling place. Each polling site will maintain a register of all poll workers for contact tracing. There'll be hand sanitizing stations. They'll seek to be, the minimum classroom size will seek to be 30 feet by 25 feet and larger if possible. And the workstations will be socially distanced at 3 to 6 feet. There'll be sanitization of work surfaces and markings for social distancing. As was the case in the general election, the Royal Bahamas Defence Force is scheduled to assist with transportation of the election materials, and the Defence Force will also assist, if required otherwise, by the Parliamentary Commissioner. The Royal Bahamas Police Force will be responsible for enforcing the election laws and health and safety protocol. Now, the elections have been deferred for 17 months, and so we trust and hope that the voters will be eager and ready to participate in this process of democracy, and we are encouraging everyone who is able and eligible to participate. The parliamentary commissioner is here in case you ask me any questions that he hasn't briefed me on. So I would open the floor to any questions.
Do you expect a high voter turnout?
Expectations are a funny thing. We would trust that people will, having exercised the franchise recently, take advantage of it. Anyone who had skepticism based on the stage of the pandemic that we were in, we're not in a surge now. Hopefully we won't be in a surge on the date of the election, so persons should have less fear based on that. Persons who have voted should have understood that the process was carried out fairly safely. There was all of the protocols followed. But expectations are very odd things.
And will similar COVID-19 protocols be implemented as they were in the general elections?
Yes, and I had noted some of them. You're going to have wearing of masks enforced. The election workers will have added protection by face masks. We'll have the social distancing, the sanitizing before you go in. I was sanitized after I voted, and the cleaning of the pencils and the other material after use.
And sir, is this administration likely to go ahead with the idea of local government from your province?
That is a matter that no policy decision has been made yet. We've had debate over it, pros and cons. I know of no settled policy position on it.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, totally unrelated question, since you're here, Minister. Any update on the investigation, I think a month or two back, as to how a woman ended up in the same cell as a man in the South Beach police station and was assaulted, allegedly assaulted?
Yes, the officer, from the information received from the Commissioner of Police, has acknowledged that he was at fault. I'll have to wait and see what punishment is meted out, but I would expect that some punishment has to be meted out for that.
So the officer's still on duty?
Sorry?
So he's still on duty as we speak?
I cannot say that. If you wish, I could find out, but I would expect that he will be disciplined.
Well, since we're doing unrelated.
We're not.
Kyle
slipped it in.
Just very quickly, a month ago, you would have advised that, car registration would have, expired this weekend. It did go over the month time after the emergency order ended, and it is expected to expire this weekend. What can the public expect in terms of enforcement from officers? Are they still going to be given a little bit of leniency, seeing that it is the Christmas holiday?
Well, let me be very clear about what happened. The advice from the Office of the Attorney General was that the exemption and the suspension of licensing actually ended in 2020. And so the advice was that it ended in 2020. There was some confusion over that. I'm in a group with QCs, a WhatsApp group with QCs, and some of the comments were people didn't accept that that was so. The government is bound to act on the advice of the Attorney General's office, and so you saw no provision for that in the bill. But as a human being, as a caring government, we know that there might be a tendency for people just to ticket. And so in Parliament, I expressed the view that I would encourage police officers not to write any tickets until that day, for a very practical purpose. If they write a ticket, the Commissioner of Police can decide not to prosecute, and I would have encouraged him very strongly not to prosecute. And so the hard letter of the law was tempered by mercy to say you have an additional month to do it. What you will find is that if you let timelines slip, they'll continue to slip. And so the public is encouraged to seek to meet the deadline extended for continuing breach. Because if one accepts the advice of the Attorney General, everyone was in breach from 2020. And so we've just said to persons, because we know that there was confusion, we could say to you, that's not the case, and we could have said license tomorrow. But you have to be reasonable with persons, and given the circumstances, an extension of 30 days was allowed, and we would encourage everyone to go ahead and comply with licensing. It's how the government gets revenue, licensing, to do the many things that have to happen.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we want to move on now to another announcement that the administration has been keen on making. We spoke about it earlier, saying that we would look at ways of incentivizing people to get vaccinated because we believe it's important. We've arrived at that point now, and coming to make that announcement is the co-chair of the vaccination committee, Mr. Ed Fields, and he will introduce someone who they will be partnering with to make good on that announcement. Mr. Fields.
Thank you, Clint. Good morning, everyone. The Vaccination Committee is pleased to make the following announcement. As you know, we are really trying to focus on getting 200,000 people vaccinated before the end of the year. We're at about 150,000 now, which means that we have a big push, but we think we can do it. And if we do it, that means that we've arrived at about 60% of the eligible population for vaccination, somewhere between 50 and 60%, which is a huge undertaking given the fact that the United States is right now stuck on about 59, 60%. So if we can get to that level, we're going to be right up there with the big boys. So, we've gotten to the point where, how do I say this diplomatically, where we are deep into the hesitancy pool of individuals for various reasons. And so we have to determine how we can incentivize best those who are sitting on the fence. And so we are very fortunate to be partnering with the Fox Foundation. Adriana Fox is here, who is given a tremendous donation of $100,000. And so essentially for first dosers, and this is for first dosers only, it sounds like a whole other thing. For first dosers, we are going to be incentivizing them over the next 3 weeks from Monday to the 31st of December at a rate of, we're going to issue out 50 $500 prizes a week. And then at the end of the period, there's going to be a grand prize for those who were in that pool between the 13th and the 31st of $25,000. So it's fun. So we're hoping that we can just drive the number because we really want to get to that 200,000 number as quickly as we can. As you know, we're also engaged in the booster program, so we'll be doing the booster program and that simultaneously. So that's really what we're here to say, is to say thank you to the Fox Foundation. I'm going to ask Adriana to come up and to say why her company is getting involved with this, and to say thank you for helping us with this initiative.
Hi, good morning. My name is Adriana Fox. I'm the co-founder of the Fox Foundation. And yes, we team up with the Ministry of Health to get to incentivize persons to get their first shot and be vaccinated. The Fox Foundation is a community-based foundation. We understand the importance of tourism, and to keep the COVID numbers as low as possible is something it's not a personal choice, but we do feel that we have the duty to get the message across to the country. So we thank the Ministry of Health of letting us partner up with this opportunity.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Fields. Is this incentive specifically for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that's about to expire, or is this for all of the vaccines?
It is for all the vaccines. We're not in a position to tell people or to guide them in a direction that they ordinarily would not wish to go. So, it's one thing just to guide them into taking the vaccine. So no, it is for all vaccines. Of course, we do mention that the Johnson & Johnson is a one-shot deal as opposed to having to get 2 shots. So, yeah, it would be great if people could do that, but this is for all of the vaccines.
And so individuals who get vaccinated between that period, they'll be eligible for a $25,000 cash prize?
Right,
Say how it's gonna work.
so basically what'll happen is, every week, we will put, you want, go ahead.
Basically, every week, we'll do a digitally drawing of those persons who took their first shot, and those results will be posted on ILTV channel on Saturday. So every Saturday, we'll do a digitally drawing. So every week, 50 persons will win $500, first, second, and third week. And in the third week, the first week, first and second week persons will not be entered in each week, but at the end of the drawing, you'll be entered back to win the $25,000.
So the person who wins the 25,000 would be out of the pool of the people who won the 500?
Yes.
No, they'd be out of the pool of all the people.
Everybody will be in it. Yes, first shot.
You're outstanding.
I was trying.
We have impeccable records.
What about the booster shot?
Sorry, Carl. Yeah, you're out long ago, okay?
I think everyone.
We're all
I
trying.
think almost everyone here is probably.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So can we encourage people to get vaccinated, and you can have an even better Christmas if you're lucky. All right, so let's get to some important announcements that you need to have from Prime Minister Davis so that you're aware of what's happening. Prime Minister Davis this morning participated in the Summit of Democracy with leaders from around the world, chaired by President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken. They were on that call this morning. It's a conference going on for 2 days virtually. Prime Minister participated. Prime Minister's intervention in Biden summit focused on the need to ensure democracy remains strong worldwide. He identified 3 main causes, which, if properly and fully addressed, we believe will go a long way to turning things around. Politicians not keeping their promises was something he spoke about, the lack of economic justice and national development, and the pernicious influence of social media technologies, which have global impact but can only be regulated within their host countries. All right. As you would have heard, the latest going on with the COVID-19 update, we're going to be removing the travel ban that's presently existing for African nations. That's going to be removed. As you're aware, travel visas will no longer be needed for Bahamians and permanent residents beginning on Monday. You will just need to have your test. And of course, more information will come out from the Ministry of Health on that later this week as well. You heard about the booster shots now available for persons 60 years and over. And then, of course, we'll move to the various categories. So get your booster shots once you've been vaccinated 6 months ago, fully vaccinated 6 months ago. I also want to give you an update on where we are with the carnival. And I think it's important to say here, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has decided that it will not give approval for the holiday carnival to be held this year. The advisory committee, which has been meeting since the start of the pandemic to assess situations like this and give approval for events, has met and identified several reasons why this event should not be approved. Now, the basis of this science has not changed. Social distancing is a key tool in mitigating the spread of the virus. As a holiday carnival is usually categorized as an event where people associate in close quarters, the Ministry of Health was not adequately satisfied that people from separate households will remain 3 to 6 feet apart from each other. The carnival falls into the same category as concerts and other large events. 2 main groups, that being children age 11 years and younger adults, have been identified as vulnerable groups who could be negatively impacted. Specifically, children age 11 years and younger do not have access to any vaccines against COVID-19 in the Bahamas, which leaves them susceptible to contracting the virus and spreading it. For younger adults, they've been identified by data as being the largest group of individuals who have tested positive for the COVID-19 virus across all 3 waves. While the organizers have stated that they are committed to implementing measures to enforce a protocol, unfortunately, we're not satisfied that they will be consistently able to safely enforce rules, even if motivated. The fact of the matter is the risk outweighs any benefit envisioned. During the application process, the responsiveness and behavior of the persons associated with the request for approval has been less than ideal, as emails have gone unanswered, and the illusion made in the press that the Ministry of Health and Wellness does not have any jurisdiction on the holding of the carnival has given rise to concern of the level of regard for this ministry that is required for the ministry to have confidence that it can help organizers manage and guide this event safely. Finally, the number expected to be at the carnival has not been provided by the organizers, but is anticipated that it will exceed numbers seen as high risk for concerts and other outdoor activities. Recently, requests submitted to the Ministry of Health and Wellness for events of this scale have not approved, and approving at this stage will reflect a significant deviation from the ministry's standards for approving these types of requests. It is with that the Ministry of Health and Wellness has resigned to not approve the request for the holding of the annual holiday carnival this year. All right, so there you have your response. I know many of you have been asking in that regard. Those are all of the announcements we have. Let's go ahead and take your additional questions that you may have this morning. Let's begin with, look who's leading it off today. Jasper Ward, the Nassau Guardian. Yes, Jasper.
Thank you for answering my first question,
Yes.
Clint. That was very helpful of you.
My pleasure.
My second question, the Prime Minister traveled to Barbados last week to witness them becoming a republic. The question has now come up in our society as to whether we should follow suit.
Yeah.
Is this something the Prime Minister or the Davis administration is considering, and what is the Prime Minister's stance on the Bahamas becoming a republic?
Sure. Thank you, Jasper. Well, you know, this has been an ongoing discussion since 1973. The next phase of our independence. You've heard many members of you've heard a member of the cabinet speak about his push to see it happen personally as an individual. It is not a conversation we've heard a lot of in recent years until we saw what happened in Barbados, but it's obviously in the hands of the Bahamian people to decide. It's not on our agenda right now. However, the Bahamian people can change that if they determine this is what they want to do. It will have to be something that the Bahamian people request and put on the government's agenda. There is a process that's different from Barbados that we have here in the Bahamas as far as how that would happen. It's a little more cumbersome than what Barbados had to go through. Based on our constitution, it will require 2/3 of Parliament agreeing to it, and then it requires a referendum for the Bahamian people that has to be unanimously agreed to. So there is a process that's quite different from Barbados that we would have to go through for that to be considered. But that will have to be driven by the people, and it's not on the agenda at this time. And Prime Minister has made it clear that if the people press for it, then it could be considered. But he has no particular view on the matter at this moment. Okay, thank you, Jasper. Let's go to Francesca Brown, Eyewitness News. Hi, Sunny.
Hi, one of my questions as well was asked and answered. Another question that I have, I think is also very important, the holiday.
Yeah.
A lot of
You'll think your plans.
a lot of people are interested in knowing whether or not we're going to get that wonderful extra day off for the Christmas holiday.
Okay, so for people who are wondering what we're talking about, obviously, you know, Christmas and Boxing Day falls on Saturday and Sunday. And we get Monday as the holiday for both days. And we return to work on Tuesday rather than having a Monday and a Tuesday off. Firstly, this decision was made by the previous administration who issued the holiday calendar. Obviously, hearing concerns from people, the Davis administration figured, well, let's talk about it and discuss it and see if there's a way we can change it. Cabinet it was on the agenda for Cabinet Tuesday passed. There was some discussion, disagreement on both arguments regarding it. No final decision was made, though, because Cabinet ended early on Tuesday. So they will make a final decision on Tuesday coming as to whether or not they will add another additional day or not. Of course, you can imagine some of the concerns have to be considered is obviously if you're adding another day, it has financial implications to businesses who now have to pay holiday pay for its staff, and there's a financial thing there. So a final decision is expected, short answer, on Tuesday in Cabinet regarding that.
I guess just follow up to that. I mean, some would argue that the Christmas holiday didn't just spring up on us. This is something that we knew was coming, so why didn't the Davis administration consider this, I guess, early in their term?
It wasn't until there was considerable amount of concern about it. Initially, when getting into office, there was no buzz about it. People didn't know. I think what happened was when the cabinet released the new holidays for next year, started the buzz, which was late in about a few weeks ago. And instantly, as it came up here at the presser, I spoke to Prime Minister about it, and he took it to his cabinet to make a decision. So that's why it's happening. It was already on the calendar that it would not be a holiday. So that was the concern, trying to remove at the last minute, 2 weeks ahead of Christmas, to add another holiday. It has so many other implications.
But for clarity, we will get it for the new year.
Sorry?
For the new year?
Yes,
Yeah.
for the new year, you'll see the calendar shows your 2 holidays. Okay? Let's go to Sloan Smith. Hey, Sloan, Eyewitness Online. Hey.
Hi there.
Hi.
So I know I would have sent a few questions, but I think you answered all.
Great. I'm good. I think you also wanted to know about the legislative agenda.
The legislative agenda of the, now that I guess you would have gotten several of those items from the speech of the throne, from their campaign promises done as it relates to the VAT, as it relates to the merchant shipping bill. What is next on the Davis administration's legislative agenda?
I'm glad Sloan has just given you our record of achieving what we've been promising. She just said the travel emergency order, the travel visa, the VAT. She's given you a list of things that were promised and have now been delivered. So she's asking what's next. I'm happy to say on the legislative side of things, Sloan, there are a number of things that are working for the legislative agenda. We're working on the Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation that would allow for the management of a government-owned shares in private companies such as BTC, Alive, APD, the port company. These will be professionally managed securities, revenues and royalties from natural resources, management of crown land and other fixed government resources. All of this is coming under the Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation that's coming to Parliament. Secondly, legislation regarding the regulation of carbon credits. You know, we've been talking a lot about climate change and talking about COP26 when we went to the conference in Scotland and what the Bahamas needs to do to be able to monetize a lot of what we have. And so we're bringing to the table legislation regarding the regulation of carbon credits and other environmental resources. The Bahamas is a unique country in that our vast ecological diversity creates a unique position in the world as far as carbon management is concerned. So this is important as many countries and companies have pledged to be carbon neutral by 2030. And so the Bahamas will be cutting edge and progressive in this particular agenda. Another legislative piece is coming to Parliament, BAMSI and other agricultural development legislation to better empower our farmers throughout the Bahamas. Also financial management legislation amendments to allow the government in Bahamas to operate in a much more transparent yet ease of doing government and private sector business. Very important. Another piece of legislation we're working on for Parliament will be to implement a world-class regulatory regime for the cannabis industry that will be allowing for the exploitation of this new industry for Bahamian economic diversification. This will include industrial hemp, which will be a fundamental aspect to the agribusiness agenda of the government. And then also, we're also reviewing anti-corruption legislation consistent with our blueprint for change to ensure full faith and confidence in the administration of government. So as you can see, a very exciting legislation ahead of us.
And are those legislation expected to be dealt with when the House of Assembly returns? And is the expectation that they will be completed within the first quarter?
You're trying to work us hard, aren't you? These are on the table. No time frames given to them, but this is what we're working on now. These pieces are being worked on now to come to Parliament. So I would say look for these over the course of the next year. These are heavy pieces of legislation and required debates and so forth. So I think it's a bit ambitious to say in the first quarter, but obviously we're trying to work these through for the next year. Okay, let's go to, thank you, Sloan, for that. Let's go to, where's Rashad? I didn't see Rashad. Oh, there you are, Rashad. Roll from the Tribune. Yes. And then I'll come back to you. Yeah, go ahead, Rashad.
Thanks, Clint. So under the last Christie administration, they signed an agreement with the IDB, Citizen Security Program, $20 million. And among other things, it was supposed to have a real youth focus to help combat crime. And some people have brought that up now that we're having this discussion about shock treatment and the appropriate way to deal with troubled youth. So my question is, what is the Davis administration's assessment of how that agreement was handled under the Minnis administration and how the money was used?
I think it's clear to say the Prime Minister in his budget communication, Rashad, he went on record stating his concerns with a number of the loan agreements with the IDB with a view of ensuring that the Bahamas is benefiting from the expected arrangement. That's important. The Ministry of Finance is now undertaking an exercise to measure the policy outcomes of the loan agreement against the interests of the Bahamian people. And so we wait for that to happen. But the Prime Minister has expressed his concern regarding these, and he's going to speak further to it soon. Okay? You just must be out of order there. Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead, Kyle. Go ahead.
Going back to the carnival issue, someone had to give them permission to enter the country and to set up. People are wondering, one, who gave them the permission, and two, why were they allowed to set up if no approvals were given by the Ministry of Health? So did they do this in contradiction to the law?
No. How it works, simply, Kyle, is if you express a concern and want to come and so forth, if you say these are the approvals that are required, you can go and get approvals from various things. Included in that was, of course, the health protocols that will be required from the Ministry of Health. And so that, I think that was the final approval they were waiting on. And a lot of things that they were asked for, they weren't supplied. And so it's not a matter of, we're here and we're hoping that this happens. The agreement that's made every year is you come into the country. You make a request to come in. We tell you the approvals that will be necessary. You may partner with somebody to get your approvals. But at the end of the day, all of the approvals have to be in place. Now, here's what I think, and I'm saying I think because I can't be sure of what they would have said as the operators. We are very concerned from the Ministry of Health aspect of initially the new strain that came out before we had all of the information regarding it. And because we are doing so well with our COVID numbers, ensuring that all protocols for any event is met. If you are not responding to the Ministry of Health to work with you to try and ensure these things are being met, there is a concern. And as you would have heard in the response from the Ministry of Health, calls went unanswered, emails went without responses. That makes a major difference, particularly in light of what we saw coming on stream with the new strain, that could make a difference and change. No government is going to hold itself binding to any agreements if you don't make, particularly when it comes to the health of the Bahamian people. And that was a concern. There was no response in that. Things develop and things change. So while ordinarily, had things been the same on the health front and there'd be no change with this virus, they might have been granted approval. But the Ministry of Health felt with what was developing in the new strain and the timing of it and the lack of response, it was not the wise thing to do. And so we have to abide by them. So while there may be one entity in government saying, okay, we have no problem with us, our concerns are satisfied, we have to wait on health. Health says, well, y'all may be satisfied, but we're not satisfied. And that changes the whole game. Prime Minister is quite clear he's not going to sacrifice the health of the Bahamian people for any event. He has to be sure that protocols are in place and that it is secure for the Bahamian people, particularly when you're dealing with young people, the most vulnerable of our population, particularly those who cannot be vaccinated at the time in the country. That's a big concern.
So is there a chance that that decision can be reversed if they do, in fact, respond or say meet those requests?
I can't speak for the Ministry of Health. Right now, the request has been denied.
For clarity, there was conditional approval and they met some of the requirements, but others they weren't. So they were originally allowed to come. And then the Ministry of Health required things from them that they weren't able to provide, so that approval was taken away.
They never had approval from the Ministry of Health.
But who would the approval come from? Originally.
They never had approval from the Ministry of Health. That's what they were waiting on. And we were waiting on the Ministry of Health to tell us whether the approval was granted. Understand. Let me try and explain it a different way. You can come to the country and say, I want to come to try and set up shop, to do something particular. You're not breaking the law by doing that. Particularly if you follow the customs requirements and approvals to get a particular facility, you can do that. There is no harm in that. Those agencies are not going to say, where's your health approval? That comes from a whole different sort. So my thing is, at the end of the day, what needed to be sourced first was that health approval before taking everything else. Everything else was done the other way around, and the health was the last thing for them to respond to. And unfortunately, this is what you end up with when the last approval really should have been the first approval.
Maybe will it change the group since you have denied the request?
We've not heard of that.
So will there now be a change that requires a health approval first before any event? Because it does look like they've got.
Most people have done that. The Ministry of Health will tell you that they have, I think, when we spoke to Dr. Darville, some 200 approvals for events and so forth. Most of these people have put these approvals in first before planning or announcing their events. I can't say why that didn't happen in this case, but that is what should be the format.
So what will happen if they decide to still operate, even though they didn't get permission?
I can't speak to that. That you need the National Human Interest just left.
While we're on that, some are wondering, what's the difference between the holiday carnival and a lot of these events that are going to happen over the holiday with hundreds, perhaps thousands of people? And let's even go back a bit further to the opening of Parliament at Bahama, where you had a lot of people.
Again, and that's why I believe that you should put those questions to the Ministry of Health for the sake of, they are the ones who make, we don't make the decision at the office of the Prime Minister. We stay far away from anything that comes to do health protocols, because the Ministry of Health has a very extensive team of professionals who really look and see whether it's beneficial to the country, whether it can be controlled. They determine, after looking at the circumstances, it may not be in the best interest. Now, I advise you to ask them as to why one over the other, and I'm sure they can tell you. I can think of a couple of suggestions, but I'm the health expert, so I shouldn't be the one saying that. But just thinking off the top of my head as a journalist, I would think that there are a lot of different factors that go into play with an event that features prominently for adults versus an event that features prominently for children, and children, as we know in the Bahamas, there's no vaccination for children right now, which makes it a completely different thing. And so I think those are factors, I'm sure, that persons in the Ministry of Health are looking into when they take consideration into events and planning. Also remember, with the COVID-19 virus, it changes daily. So when an event may happen at one particular time versus another time, circumstances change, which makes something more vulnerable than the other.
The operator, I believe, told Eyewitness News that they got permission from the Prime Minister. So to be clear, that's false. The Prime Minister never gave him or the company any permission.
You raise a very valid point. And let me say this here. I think it's important because I've heard some persons in the media speaking about it and saying there's a contradiction between the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health. Absolute nonsense. The Prime Minister has never spoken about this issue, neither has he been involved in this issue. An operator says they got approval from somebody, and a national leader in our country then says the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health on different pages. How can you take that based on what somebody has said to you outside of your country? You've not heard from the Prime Minister. He's never spoken on this matter. The Prime Minister has never spoken directly to anybody on this matter. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. We've allowed the Ministry of Health to deal with anything regarding health protocols regarding this. The Prime Minister does not approve carnivals coming into a country. Absolute nonsense.
The Prime Minister never gave any kind of approval.
It's absolute nonsense.
Under normal circumstances, minus the pandemic, what would have been the typical chain of command for approval of something of the carnival magnitude, seeing that it's been coming here for years? What ministry would have to
Good point. We can find out for you. This is my first time, my first rodeo, so I wouldn't know what the previous chains of commands would have been for carnival, but it'll be interesting to find that out. And I think that may help you be a little clearer in what transpired. Okay? Folks, where are we at now? I don't know. Jillian, my clock. Where are we at? What time are we at? We got 3 minutes. So y'all, I'm sure if you don't allow our features, food businesses to come and feature, then you can't have a good belly full. So I think you ought to let's turn to that now. If you have other questions, you can always reach me regarding those. I want to bring on our features. We have 2 features for you today. The first one we have is Mama Sorrel, which is a drink and beverage you're going to enjoy. And I love this person's story behind Mama Sorrel because, as you know, the person who I'm going to introduce, Alia Coley, is one of the country's leading entertainers and performers and recording artists in our country. But during the pandemic, when there was no work for our entertainers, she found something creative to do and started this business. And I've had it myself. I'm an endorser. Yes, I'm going to endorse it. It's an excellent product. I'm going to invite Alia Coley to come and talk about Mama Sorrel. She even brought some banana bread for y'all, Jill. Come and talk about Mama Sorrel, and then we're going to talk about our second vendor right after that. Come, Alia.
Good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here in another capacity other than singing today. I'm very excited and very excited to be able to present to you my new business that I've launched during the pandemic, something that came about because in the time of COVID, everybody was, concerned about their immune systems. So I came across this hibiscus that came from Africa and made its way through the Caribbean, in particular Jamaica and Trinidad. And now I'm bringing it to the Bahamas. Now, the thing about this sorrel, it is high in vitamin C, potassium, B12. It's great for inflammation. And so it was something that I thought would be good. I actually started making it because I wanted to be healthy, to be honest with you. And then I actually let somebody else try it, and just for free. And they came back. I say, okay. I see y'all coming back. I say, maybe I can make some money off of this thing. So that was the genesis of Mama Sorrel. And ever since, it's been doing well. It's now launched in different eateries, such as Tiki Bikini Hut, also Tasty Caribbean Delights. You can also find it there. So this was the offspring of many things to come. So I've also been able to produce other beverages, such as a citrus burst, which is also high in vitamin C. Also, I've been able to do a lemongrass moringa. And those are things that are very indigenous to the Bahamas that we can find here. So it's good to be able to support things of that nature, that we can say, okay, these are things that are locally grown. These are things that are healthy for our bodies. These are things that at a time like this, we need to be partaking in our bodies to keep our immune systems boosted. So it's very important to stay healthy. Anybody else agree with me on that? Yes, it is. How can they reach you? So they can reach me on Facebook. I have a page. It's called Mama Sorrel. This is I'm impressed. This is awesome. Didn't expect it. This is beautiful. Yes, you can find me at Mama Sorrel on Facebook. And also you can contact me at 810-8080. In addition to that, I also got into baking, so I bake a mean banana bread. A mean banana bread, and I have it outside for you guys to sample, and I hope that you enjoy.
All right, good. Yes. Thank you, Aliyah.
Thank you.
And our second spotlight on Bahamian food businesses is coming. The proprietor Xavier Roll Higgs, and most of you know this business. You've seen the pop-ups all over town. It's called PAL. All right, that's pancakes, omelets, and waffles. Oh boy, we're gonna have a good day today. Come on, Xavier, and talk to us about your business.
As you can see, I came straight out of the kitchen to you. So a fantastic good morning to everyone. My name is Xavier Higgs, proprietress of POW, the short for pancakes, omelets, and waffles. POW was established in 2017 at Festival Rum, Bahamas. The idea was to bring a unique dining experience to the food scene here in Nassau, where we focus on mainly breakfast and brunch items. We introduced the first upscale mobile restaurant in our second year of business and innovated brunch favorites such as the crack conch and waffles combination. We are also known for our indigenous lemonade flavors produced by our sister company, LIT, Lime-Infused Taste, which you will have today. When people visit POW, our mission statement is to provide quality and innovative food whilst creating an eventful and energetic experience for all. Over the past 4 years, POW has evolved into a household name, captivated loyal customer base who'll be dubbed POW Nation. And now we're getting ready to launch our third phase in summer of 2022. We can't wait to surprise you all. We are excited, elated, and overjoyed for this expansion. And we would like to thank all of POW Nation for your contribution to our continued success. You will be POWing today, by the way, as we are featuring our skewers of some of our popular menu items, the chicken tenders and waffle skewers, and the shrimp tenders and waffle skewers. We also have our original switcher and also our top lemonade flavor, passion fruit, to quench your thirst. So with that being said, happy POWing and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Xavier. Listen, we're excited to constantly feature every week Bahamian businesses who are making a difference and keeping some tummies really satisfied. That's our presser for today. Again, happy holidays to you. We'll see you next week. Let's go. Powell meets Sorrel, y'all. Let's have some fun. Good afternoon.